Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of An Old Man with a Phone. Today's video is going to be on man-packable portable radio, and then I'm going to show you my setup here. As you can tell by the cozy, it is a tactical radio system. It doesn't get any more Tier 1 Meal Team 6 than that. So this is a Xiegu G90. I've done other videos on it, so I won't fully get into its specs. I'm using a 20 amp hour LifePo 4 battery, which is due for replacement because I vet my gear and found out it's only actually giving me 5 amps. But for the purpose of this, it's actually just fine. The charge controller is an EP-Ever MPPT charge controller. This one is 20 amp hours. I've got 2 plugs available. This is the second one. This lead here just goes to the battery. Back of the radio, the battery is connected, as well as this handheld that I'm charging. Everything is running off of this eco-worthy 120 watt folding solar panel. It's still partially shaded, but it's giving me fine power as it is. This eco-worthy solar panel, I own 2 of these. I bought one, I vetted it, I looked at it, I had fun with it. I went and bought another one because I don't like wasting my money, and it was actually very much worth it. On the other hand, this LifePo 4 battery is an eco-worthy. It's a 20 amp hour. I've had 2 of these. I used to run them together. If you look at some of my older videos, one has a bad BMS and is no longer working, and this one is only carrying 5 amps instead of 20. So the eco-worthy battery, in my opinion, is not getting a full pass here, and I'm looking to replace it with something else. So what makes this radio kit usable, first I'll talk about the purpose of it. I like to camp, and I camp in very remote locations, so help is not coming. Expect to self-rescue. You don't have cellular phone service at all, not for about a day's walk. So with this radio here, it really doesn't matter. It has a global footprint. I commonly operated on 1 watt. Today I've been operating on 5 as band conditions are a little stiff. It will do 20 watts, and it has a built-in tuner. Which is a large reason I went with this particular portable radio. This entire system will fit in that little backpack there on the chair. Everything except for the solar kit. I'll get into that backpack in a few minutes. This radio, I'm going to try and keep things out of the sun for you. This is the FT3DR. It has, it's a bit more expensive, bit more higher end of a radio, but it does have a lot of features I enjoy, such as a built-in GPS. If you have to give your exact location to say that I'm 1.5 kilometers left of the spruce tree, isn't going to help emergency crews locate you. So with this, I've got GPS. On top of this, it also has an automatic range transponder, so the other radio equipment that I commonly use, it will tell me whether I'm in or out of range. It has digital features, which will enable me for radio tracking, which means if there's a member of my camping crew or search and rescue group or anything like that that is just generally lost in the woods and somewhere behind the wall of green, we don't have to try and coordinate where we are with one another. We just have to talk to each other on the radio, and their radio and mine will identify the location and, or rather the direction and the distance between the two, so we can just keep closing the distance until we see each other. Kind of a handy, you know, if you're in a wilderness location you're not familiar with and you lose your bearing, that's going to help you make it back. I also have another radio that'll work with this that has a built-in crossband repeater, and it's vehicle mounted, and there's some benefits I get from that. With this radio, to extend its range, you can see the coax going to that antenna. That antenna is a handheld antenna, so it's only tuned when it's on the handheld and when you're holding the handheld. However, I was able to make a counterpoise kit which adds the other half of the dipole, and that allows me to dismount the antenna from the radio as well as keep a nice tight SWR. The counterpoise kit is cut to a very particular length to maintain SWR, and I had a bit of fidget and fumble to make it happen. All it is a 1 inch by 1/8 inch aluminium flat strap bent at a 45 with a BNC box connector mounted through it. That antenna is actually, without the counterpoise, is heavier than this radio. So when you mount it to the radio, the very first thing you think about is just how fast you're going to break off your antenna connection, and the fact you can't just stand the radio up because the antenna will just certainly pull it over. That radio has a 12-volt connection plugged into it, which goes back to the battery, which is solar fed. So all day, every day, everything can work at its full power and never lose power. Only after dark, when the solar panel isn't performing at all, you get about 4 or 5 hours off that. Supposed to be a 20 amp hour battery, only delivering 5. Vet your gear. But that's how that works. It's, you know, this will be just fine during daytime operations. If you're camping, it's a good way to go. This antenna is the HYS-TC79 gooseneck antenna from HYS, and it's a blade antenna. I purchased this antenna because of its gain. It has nearly 6 decibels of gain, and if you look at the decibel chart, just to put things into perspective for its performance, let's just say that radio has an output power of 2 watts. 3 dB of gain on 2 watts will actually make it perform as though you're using 4 watts. Another 3 dB of gain will make it act as though it's using 8 watts. So it actually doesn't use any more power from the radio. It just handles it very, very efficiently. And I do get quite the distance. I've been beyond cell phone communication in the wilderness and still able to connect to repeaters with clarity back in town, and able to have simplex communication with some stations back in town about 95 or 100 kilometers away, somewhere around 55 to 62 miles away. So that's quite good. My cell phone was useless. Everything folds up nicely into this bag and can be thrown over the shoulder. This isn't a very large bag. It's a single shoulder strap. In the back, I have the Chai ground spike. I have the SS17 17-foot extending whip. I also have the Chameleon, their little bellin or unun that they use. So the Chameleon antenna system. And then inside I have just some coax. Oh, it's not even in there. See, I'm so good at this, I don't even know which pocket I have my stuff in. I've got 50 feet of this really skinny, I believe this is 316 coax on BNC connectors. I have a jaw mount, which will allow me to connect to anything from picnic tables to trees to whatever you can find it'll clamp onto, railings. Where I go camping, you're connecting this to a tree. You're not finding a picnic table or any other man-made infrastructure. I like to go just straight into the wilderness and find as much of nothing as I possibly can. Then I also have the counterpoise kit for the antenna. What I don't have in here, but could easily add if I felt I would need it, is the longer wire to make multiple different antennas using the Chameleon MPass 2.0 system. And then I've got some other counterpoise wires made up that I could also add if I wanted to. I have plenty of room. The entire kit will fit in here. I don't know how much it weighs. I'll just tell you it's not overly uncomfortable to carry. And I'm not a young fella anymore. Darn it. But this radio here, I'm trying to block sunlight. This radio here is high frequency. It's going to give me everything from 1.8 megahertz for transmitting, 1.8 megahertz all the way up to 29 megahertz, almost 30. Does not do 6 meters. So you can find out everything you need to know on this radio on the internet. I've had this radio for several years. It has yet to let me down. The only issues I would bring up with it is sometimes its tuner hasn't always been favorable for me. I'll just put it that way. And the microphone plug-in seems to have gotten itself a little loose in there. It's still just fine, but I'm griping about the little things. Aside from that, this is pretty much what I have for a tactical off-grid, any place, anytime, anywhere radio. Everything from your camping trip to, driving a remote road and having a flat tire. Sometimes there's special events that happen, fundraisers for various causes, and they're usually like a race or a bike relay that spans over 150 kilometers. I'll volunteer for those. Usually I believe in the cause, so I'll make myself available. And this equipment allows me to go into some remote locations and still have full communication. Usually it's a bike ride. Sometimes I'm just volunteering for a motor vehicle race, which is done in the wilderness on winter roads. And, obviously there's no power, no infrastructure, anything like that. This equipment has got everything it needs to perform in that environment and help the event go as safely as possible. One of the things this equipment is not meant for, and because I read my YouTube comments, I feel the need to put this in here. It is not meant for armed military conflicts where you're one guy, one gun, one bullet, one great idea, and you're going up against the whole of the world's government and all of their technology. So for the people that comment about that, whether I'm operating in an emergency or a disaster or a volunteer position, the last thing I'm worried about is military warheads on my forehead because I broke squelch. Saying that the lunch truck is leaving the lunch spot and going to the dinner spot. I mean, come on, guys, let's be adults. Aside from that, I don't have too much to share on this. If you're still watching, thank you very much. Do leave a comment, and I hope you have a great day.